We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we could each eat. And Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air and headed towards the kitchen ceiling and landed right on Henry. As we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, including Grandpa. Breakfast consumed quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed on the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he's ever told us. Across the ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts, and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chewin Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses, and trees, and gardens around them. A schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there was no food stores in the town of Chewin Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chewin Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather showed was what they ate, but never rain, it never snowed snow, and never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice, it snowed mashed potatoes and green peas, and sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and that they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way, they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. And if there were any leftovers, there usually were, the people took them home and put them in the refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankfurters, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearings, with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chewin Swallow had a rather unusual job for its sanitation department. Sidewalks along. After every meal, and fed the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some to the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's gardens. Life for the townsmen was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worst. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. The next day there was Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. And another day there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal. They got stuck in the The food was getting larger and larger, so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up quickly. Awful things were happening. There was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls. Some with seeds, some without. There was white bread and rye, and the whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they have ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged. Workers 4 days to clean up, and the seas was full of floating rolls. How about the people pile up as much bread as they could into their backyards? The worst just stay there. There was a storm of pancakes one morning. So they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch strips of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick that day. And the day ended with a stomach ache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There was seasoned pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So the decision was made to evacuate or abandon the town, chew and swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread sandwich style with peanut butter, and took the absolute necessities with them and set down on their rafts for new land. After being adrift for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. Surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves. The children began. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. Packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. We're weak until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. Next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sleigh with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as sliding down the hill, we saw a giant pat of butter at the top. You could almost smell mashed potatoes. The end.